Hello, welcome to the Holistic Living. I'm your host Fatima, and today we are going to be talking about the subconscious mind. So tie your seatbelt because this one's going to be a very fun ride. And I'm going to quickly add my expert, Dr. Amita. Hello, a lovely weekend, and we do have our. Oh yes. Hi, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, very good. Good evening. How are you?
I'm great too. Thank you so much for coming to the Holistic Living. Really grateful that you found time and joining us for this lovely talk over here.
My pleasure. Is my voice audible?
Yes, your voice is very clear.
Okay. Go ahead.
Great. Let me quickly address to the viewers here. Hi everyone, a very fantastic weekend I hope you all are having. Today's session is going to be super interesting and really fun because we are going to be talking about the subconscious mind, which influences at least 95% of your life. So, Dr. Amita is going to talk about the subconscious mind and how hypnotherapy can be useful in activating it. So, let's dive right into it. Amazing. So, quickly, let me introduce you. Dr. Amita Thakkar is a homeopathy hypnotherapist as well as a transpersonal regression therapist. And she has helped resolve many issues including anxiety, depression, chronic stress, traumatic past, and help people achieve a purposeful and happy life. So thank you so much, Dr. Amita, for coming here. And let's start with a very basic question. What is hypnotherapy?
So, hypnotherapy is a therapeutic intervention accessing the part of the mind which is generally dormant but yet very powerful, which is the subconscious mind, using the hypnotic state of the mind. So, a hypnotic state of the mind is somewhere where you are neither awake nor you are asleep, but it is a sleep-like state where you are aware, but at the same time you are much relaxed, and that is the space where you are accessing your subconscious mind.
All
And when
right.
you use this space for the purpose of healing, for therapeutic intervention, for bringing a change, it is called as hypnotherapy.
All right. Thank you so much for that simplified answer. And so since we are here to talk about, the subconscious and how we can reprogram, what are some benefits of training your subconscious mind?
There are many benefits, simply because the subconscious mind is nearly 80 to 85 to 90% of our total capacity of the mind functioning. And many of us are not aware because it is dormant all the time. And it has a library of your experiences that you have lived this lifetime across lifetime. And we say generally experience is the best teacher, right? So subconscious mind is that reservoir of experiences which has the key to unlock anything and everything that you feel that you can't understand as to why it is happening in your life. So many of the times
Okay.
people feel, no, why me? Why only I have to suffer? So that why
Yeah.
me syndrome, because they don't understand, which is like an illogical situation. Why am this is not working in my life? That is not working. My health is not keeping well. So the answer to this, or rather I would say the subconscious mind has the key and a logical understanding for all the illogical situations in our life. That's one of the biggest benefits. The other thing that most people don't know about subconscious mind is also the mind, which is that part of the mind, which is the bridge between the mind that you think that you are and the body.
Okay.
And hence it's like a bridge to your inner reality and the external reality, which is where most of us are looking. How can I get this? How can I really do well here? How can I perform well in my job? How can I give a great relationship? How can I have great health? That's something that you're looking out all the time. And you are at a loss when you don't get well or you don't get any answers to come out of it. And that's where you approach a therapist. And the hypnotherapist is helping you to have an access to that part of your mind. That is your inner reality through this bridge, which is through the subconscious mind.
Okay.
And
So
there are several other
yes,
things, but we can go ahead as the talk goes.
yes. So just to summarize a bit, we can use hypnotherapy to resolve many different issues, like relationship issues are there, then mental health issues. Is that right?
Yes, so it is useful in majority of the ailments and those which are psychosomatic. In today's scenario, 94% of our ailments are psychosomatic. So at the level of medical conditions which are influenced by the state of mind, then in relationship issues where there are conflicts, where there are repetitive patterns of any kind of behavior. It is useful in habit addictions, weight management. It is useful in any kind of habits that you are so hooked onto that you can't let go of it. It's
Yeah.
useful even for building up some positive attitude in your life. If some things are holding you back, building up your performance,
Okay.
conflict resolution. So there are so many ways. I would say everywhere there is mind, there is a scope of
Hmm.
working with your subconscious mind through hypnotherapy.
Yes, I totally agree on you with that. And now that brings me to another question. How does hypnotherapy work? Because there's a lot of myths also around it. What if the therapist controls me? And so could you address that a bit?
So yes, I'm familiar with these myths, but I think it's a very good question because a lot of people are afraid to go to the hypnotherapist simply because they are afraid that their minds will be controlled. First and
Right.
foremost, therapy is always on a mutual understanding between a client and a therapist. And that remains sacrosanct even in a hypnotherapy session. And there is a consent that we ask. So, are you willing to? And in fact, before that, we also discuss with the client what is this process about? And it's an absolutely safe process. It's as good as going into a state of meditation. The difference is in a hypnotherapy session, there is a hypnotherapist, just like a guiding instructor. When you go for scuba diving, there's somebody who will take you down there,
Yeah.
yeah, and you give him the permission to take care of you, and he will actually take you to the right spot where you would want to go and explore. This is something like that on a similar lines. So there is no control of the mind of the client. Rather, there is a shifting of the control from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind with the consent of the client, which many of them are not
Hmm.
aware. They get confused with something else that they have heard about hypnotherapy.
Yes.
And I think what they have in the mind most of the time is this whole black magic scenario that they have ingrained in their head, which is far, far away from hypnotherapy session. So what we
Oh,
do basically is taking their consent and only for a willing client and then listening to their issue, taking them into that space very safely, very systematically, very scientifically from helping them to let go of the control from their own conscious mind to their subconscious mind. Because once they are in the subconscious space, they are able to access the source of their issue. So why would a facilitator control somebody's mind? Rather helping you to let go of the control which keeps you away from finding the answers to your own problems.
all right. That is an interesting perspective that you have given us over here.
Thank you.
So you addressed a really common health myth about hypnotherapy that it can take control of your mind. Another question I would really like to ask you is, once the hypnotherapy process begins, how does it help one to resolve any issue that they have, like let's say anxiety or depression or just in general, to achieve happiness in their life? Like, can you take us a bit through the process?
Can you repeat the question because it was a little breaking in between for me?
Oh, these internet glitches. So I'm just asking that once, could you take us a bit through the hypnotherapy process? Like, how does it benefit the person? And, usually how many sessions would it take to resolve, let's say, any issue like anxiety or stress?
So basically the first thing that we do is talking to the person, listening to them, understanding their problem, coming to a certain clear objective, and then explaining them what is the process. Generally, the process has two parts. The first part is taking them into the induction process, which is from going from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. It takes around nearly few minutes, 3-4 minutes to 20 minutes. And then followed by that, the second part is either giving a suggestion so that they can reinforce on their positive attitude or build up their performance. And there are many times, not just the suggestions which are given under the hypnotherapy session, we do a lot of deeper work. And that's the second and the very, very important part, where we go into the source of the issue and we go into exploring where it started and then healing it, which is called as regression. So we either take them into this life or across lifetime. And in some cases, we also take them through where the problem of the conflict or the source of the conflict arose. So there are different techniques, but primarily there are two steps. One is going from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. Once we know the client is there, we then guide them depending upon what they have decided to achieve at the end of the session. So it's a very mutual understanding. It's a healing partnership between the client and the therapist.
I think that was really well explained, like how there are different stages of hypnotherapy. And since you said, you take the person back to a point where they were having conflict. So is hypnotherapy a little bit similar to past life regression? How is it?
So hypnotherapy has a vast spectrum of interventions by way of techniques and processes. And majority of them are done through regression route, which means going back into the past. So in a way, age regression, past life regression utilizes the hypnotic trance to go to that source. So they are in a way hand in glove, but besides regression also, we have many other hypnotherapy techniques. Is that clear?
Yes, that is clear. And if I'm not wrong, you do take classes as well, right? Like in-depth hypnotherapy training you provide.
Yes, I do take trainings. I've been conducting training in hypnotherapy since 2007.
Wow.
And I've been training with an institute which is a pioneer in hypnotherapy training. We have 5 levels to curriculum, and we systematically take you from the basic understanding of what is the mind, how does mind influences your life, relationships, your health, and then giving you several induction techniques right in the basic class, so that at the end of 2 days you feel very kind of confident enough to take the person into a hypnotic session. And then the subsequent classes are about the advanced techniques.
Right. So once you've received the training, is it possible to do the hypnotherapy on yourself? Is it advised? Yeah.
So once you have learned the entire curriculum, you would be called as, based on certain criteria, a professional hypnotherapist. We generally, don't encourage people to do hypnosis on their own besides self-hypnosis. So we teach self-hypnosis in the level 1 class, which can kind of empower you to give suggestions to yourself. But there are a lot of processes where you're required to go to the source of the issue, which may require an external therapist to guide you into that process and take you to the deeper part of your own mind, because that becomes a little difficult for one's own self to do, unless we have been trained so well, but that takes a little while. It's very difficult to go back to our own issues. It's extremely painful, and it's always nice to have somebody holding the space. So we don't encourage people going into a hypnotherapy session for the purpose of that, but we definitely teach self-hypnosis so that you can use it to keep giving yourself positive, reinforcing suggestions, something that can build on your attitude and your performance, for sure.
That's amazing. So I think whatever you said, hypnotherapy right now is, how like a hand-in-hand guide to achieve a certain desired state or just resolve the ongoing issues that you have.
Yes.
And I think that is why it is like one of the very powerful techniques that has been widely used now, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, it's extensively used in India. I think we have lots of people, I would say more than 500 to 1,000 people, because there are so many students are every year passing out of this institute and learning and practicing it. And more and more people are getting aware. So if we just keep the training part aside, but practically every day I have sessions where I am meeting people only for hypnotherapy sessions. So I see
Wow.
people are finding some value in this, and a lot of mental health issues can be resolved at a very deep level. And with the relatively lesser sessions, they can actually access the subconscious mind, go to the root cause, free of the pains that they are carrying from the
Hmm.
past, and they can
Right.
feel much more present, aware, and clearer and lighter in their body and
Hmm.
mind. That's the benefit.
Wow. That's really great. And just one more thing that takes me to another question here is that you mentioned how hypnotherapy helps to resolve these issues, right? So generally, how much time would it take for a person to complete their therapy?
So on an average, I always keep a couple of hours, simply because first 15 minutes, 20 minutes goes into understanding what they want to do. So the way
Yeah.
I Fatima is, every session I really sit with them to just zero down what is the objective that you want to work today with. So there are different facets to a problem. The first time when they come, we take an intake, and then we try to get a bigger objective, and from there we chunk it down. So one day we work into their energy level, the other day we work into going into the deeper issue in this life. Sometimes we access the past life. Sometimes we work on some behavioral issue which is stuck. So there are
Yeah.
aspects to a problem, and we define right in the beginning. That takes around 10-15 minutes, and then going a little more deeper into the source of the issue and healing it in a very finer and a refined way, because I also include transpersonal regression therapy work in
Yeah.
the hypnosis session, which is a very finer level of working with regression. And that these sessions generally go into little detailing and going to every bit of resolving the issue at every aspect. And so I keep around 1.5 to 2 hours on an average.
Hmm.
Really have that fruitful and fulfilling session, both for the client and the therapist. So when
Amazing.
they come with a certain
Yeah.
agenda on that day, and we aim to address it more or less a great
Yeah.
chunk of the same day.
All right. Oh my God. So you were saying like it's a very in-depth therapy, just like take this problem out from its root.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
talk to me, the once it happens, is it possible for relapses to happen, or it's like okay, once it's done, you're done with that issue? Like how is it?
Uh, So by and large, Fatima, I don't see there is a relapse of the issue. That's the beauty of this work, and that has kind of inspired me to be with this work and go more and more into it. And I'm very blessed that a lot of people are getting the benefit out of it. Because generally, as I told you, when you start with a issue, let's say they want to work with something that they are stuck with. In fact, today I had this session where I was like, the client was stuck, and then we could address that the stuckness was coming from a very young 7-year-old child who was so frightened
Yeah.
with what was happening around. And we started taking care of the child. And the moment we started helping the child, there was a huge relief, because a lot of painful, traumatized feeling with that whole experience, because she kept going in shell. That was her main issue. That, I am in a
Hmm.
shell. I know I can't really step out and live my fullest potential. And she recognized while we were talking in the first 15-20 minutes that she's stuck. And then she could really come to, right in the conversation, that something is not okay from my childhood, and we addressed specifically that particular child. And when she left, she almost felt very light, and she said, I could really get where
Yeah.
I'm able to go beyond. And because it was a very complex situation, we could really deal around nearly 70% of it. So this is just
Wow.
one example. It's very fresh right now because I've just come out of a session.
Yeah.
But yes, there are so many sessions, Fatima, that they have less chances of relapse. Once it is
Hmm.
done, it is more or less sorted. If they come up, that means another aspect of has opened up. I hope it
Right.
makes sense to you. What I know, it's very new to you.
Yes.
I know I
No.
can get a couple of
I can
expressions.
relate coming from a psychological background, I can relate it to the Sigmund Freud stages and how sometimes we form defense mechanism that goes back to our childhood days.
Okay, that
So,
reminds me when you spoke of Sigmund Freud, the student of Sigmund Freud, you might know who's it, Carl Jung.
yes.
So every psychology student would know about Carl Jung, and he has this wonderful quotation, which is my favorite quotation, because that is exactly what we work through this work. And
Hmm.
that's what, whenever the unconscious gets conscious, it never continues and never returns as fate, which means whatever has been engraved as your fate is because you have been unconscious of it. The moment you get conscious of what was unconscious from the past, it no longer comes back as a fate. In other
Okay.
words, my experience with hypnotherapy and working with transpersonal regression therapy is about bringing conscious awareness of subconscious and unconscious thought patterns and emotions that are stuck and that does not let you go ahead, which is why people don't realize that they are stuck because of that, because they only see the outside. But the moment
Yeah.
you go inside into the unconscious and using these techniques, you bring conscious awareness and free of that pain,
Hmm.
it starts releasing and it gives you a sense of freedom. It gives a sense of freedom to that person. And then suddenly the
Yeah.
mind starts getting present. Oh, this is what happened.
Hmm. Right. Right. Simply that awareness itself can be a huge step in, living a life
Absolutely.
freely.
So,
Wow.
as a psychotherapist, I think you are a psychotherapist, or any
Ah,
of
yes.
you, anyone of
Psychologist.
you who
Yes.
yeah, anyone and everyone must know that psychotherapy session involves two aspects:
Hmm.
catharsis and clarity. Clarity with awareness. And this is exactly what you tap into a hypnotherapy session. You tap into the trauma, and once you tap into the trauma, you're trained as a therapist to help the
Hmm.
client and hold the space for the client to breathe out, let go of that trauma from that time and space, not now.
Right.
Because now they don't have
Right.
any, no, they feel why
Yeah.
this. And once that is clear, once that is free, that space, then automatically there is a resource comes up because the space is of awareness. Does
True.
that make
Yeah.
sense? So this is how the sessions that I conduct in hypnotherapy and using transpersonal regression therapy are aiming towards bringing in catharsis
Hmm.
and wisdom, which is through clarity and awareness.
Yes.
Is
That
that
is
getting
right. So
simpler?
it is, but like we know the term catharsis, but could you like simplify it a bit, in layman's term, what is catharsis? Uh, internet issues. So you mentioned catharsis, right? We understand it, but could you still like simplify it a bit, in a layman's term, what exactly is catharsis?
For sure. Catharsis comes from a Greek uh, terminology. It means purging. So what is purging? Vomiting. So we are not literally vomiting, but when we mean catharsis, we are helping or I would not use the word helping, we facilitate the process where they reach to the source of the issue and they let go. Or when they say letting go is
Hmm.
freeing of the mind and the body, which is carrying the pain through emotions and many a times of cellular memories in the physical body. So
Yeah.
catharsis is actually freeing of the pain in simple layman language. Pain which is stored in the mind, emotions. And when we talk of mind, we're talking of subconscious mind because that's where it is stored deep down and you don't know
Yeah.
consciously. And when you take it there, you ask them, you guide them, you facilitate the process of freeing them of all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And that's freeing of the mind from the pain and the freeing of the physical body from all the cellular memories which are kind of creating this kind of painful areas in the body, which is how we work with the body also.
Yeah.
So there has been one interesting case. Somebody came to me for, I want to work with, I feel rejected, I don't feel good. And then I'm just giving a very quick summary of it. because when she was working, so we were working with her issue of abandonment and rejection and not feeling
Okay.
policed and not recognized in her work. And we incidentally, I would say incidentally, got into a past life regression. And I kind of
Hmm.
opened up the whole scenario of where it started from. And in one of the traumatic episode, she was feeling that being dragged by, she was a soldier who died in the battlefield. And then the enemy soldier were
Okay.
dragging her and she had fallen down the horse. Now, incidentally, when she came out of the session, she said, now I realize where is the block, where do I feel, I'm not accepted, and, where do I feel hurt, because I myself felt disappointed because I didn't fight for my kingdom and I fall
Yeah.
short of feeling. At the same time, she also could relate to her knee joint pain that she kept having every time she would go on a stage for a performance. She's been a
Hmm.
trainer in her own profession. So there were so many correlations happening in that one session.
Yeah.
So this is what I would say, the byproduct of the session. So the
Hmm.
client comes with an issue, but there are times there are other aspects that get correlated. This is just one simple example. I hope it is simply
Yeah.
clear.
No, it is very simple. And it's crazy how these memories can be so much deeply rooted in you and impacting you even without your awareness.
Absolutely. Without awareness is very important. And that's where the
Yeah.
work slowly but very gently and very carefully holding the space for the client so that they can access those memories. They can live. And
Right.
when they, what is hypnotherapy giving you a possibility of accessing those space? Because consciously, if I hear it and feel it, oh my God, I can't, I don't want to feel the pain. But that's a very
Right.
gentle way of reliving and releasing it. So
Hmm.
catharsis is releasing, letting go, freeing of the
Right.
pain at the level of mind, at the level of body.
Wow. I
I
think
hope it
like
is
on both
simple.
the level, it is very simple, and like the more you say it, the more I can feel, how liberating it could be to just release those pent up emotions or memories inside you. So thank you so much. I think it was a very insightful conversation with you. And I just have one last question on my end, which is related to the subconscious. There are books about subconscious. There are research papers about subconscious. Does all the hype live up to it? Like, what I mean is a lot of people emphasize a lot on subconscious. So is the hype real? Is subconscious that important?
Well, we are starting from the end is the beginning, I guess. This
Yeah, I want to
Your
end
question
with
is
that
the end. This
solid
is
note.
supposed to be the beginning. Well, it's fun to talk about. Actually, true. It's not a hype. It is the fact. It's like the more we are getting conscious in the last few decades, I would say, about this whole world of mental health. People are exploring it, and the more and more people come to me, more and more people I see outside, you recognize that the subconscious mind has been holding so much of information. So it is not a
Right.
hype, Fatima.
Okay.
There are
Wow.
so many researchers we can quote. This is not the place to bring all the researchers here, but someday, sometime we can do it. And
Definitely. I would love that.
Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, and there's so many other psychotherapists and practitioners of healing have been talking about the unconscious and the subconscious. So it's not a
Yes.
hype. It is almost a known truth now, and it's good that
Yeah.
so if people have questions, the best is to experience it
Hmm.
and know what it is.
Totally. Exactly. And like I have experienced hypnotherapy and I can personally vouch how powerful it can be to resolve certain issues. And if there's anyone who's going through any issue and you've been facing through it since a long time, then I would strongly recommend a consultation with Dr. Amita. She's been in this field for so many years, right? Like how many years, Dr. Amita, you've been practicing this?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So I'm basically a homeopath by my qualification, and it's nearly 25 years of homeopathy that got me into this work of hypnotherapy since 2004. And I got more and more kind of, I would say, it's almost becoming like my second practice because I do continue practicing homeopathy. So nearly from 2004, and by 2007, when I got into training, I had no questions about it anymore. and I'm continuing to learn every day, even till today. All my
Wow.
patients are my biggest teachers, and
Yeah,
a great source and a resource to know that it is not a hype, it is a truth, and we all can
exactly.
be ready to face that truth for ourselves, for the self-awareness, for the growth.
Exactly right. Some people, like a lot of people, including me, before I study psychology, I used to think that therapy is only when you go completely crazy. But now I'm realizing, and like at least the awareness is building that even if you're having daily life issues, it's okay to seek for help.
Yeah, it's always good to have someone who could really give you a perspective after uh, active listening, and that itself is a great benefit. And well, I'm not, if I have to just add, and if I have some time with you, then I would say sometimes just listening can give a lot of resource to their client, because they themselves start getting to get in touch with their subconscious. That's
Yeah.
what I have been practicing in the last few
Hmm.
years, and that's getting better and better. And people get to know, oh, it came from there. I don't have to tell them. See, it's not
Yeah.
about the therapist telling them it's coming from there. It's they recognizing it, that the source of the issue, oh, it happened then. It
Yes.
was before.
And I
So,
think that is way more long lasting and effective when it just comes from within.
so
So,
I'm glad you are telling this now, and you're doing
yeah.
it.
Exactly. And there's someone who's asking, how do I reach and connect with you? So, number has been passed on. You can call, you can DM us. Feel free anytime. We'll be available to answer all your queries. And if you do want to book a consultation, which I highly recommend you should, Dr. Amita, with Dr. Amita, then you can just contact on this number. Any last message from you before we end the session?
Well, the magic is in you.
Yes.
The magic is in you, and the only way that you can tap the magic is by getting more present, more aware. And yes, one of the ways is for sure through hypnotherapy and regression therapy. So, getting in touch with your own self will get in touch with all that you require to unlock your power of your subconscious mind. So,
Yes.
if you believe that
So,
there is a scope that you can explore your magic, then yes, all that you have to do is believe it and go for it.
wow, I love that message. I think it just ends this session on such a positive note. And once again, thank you very, very, very much for coming here, taking out time and addressing such a important topic to our viewers.
Thank you, Fatima. Thank you, Holistic Living. And thank you, everyone. Yes, it was really nice to have this conversation, and I love talking about this subject. So
Yeah,
it will just go on. Once I start,
I can sense that passion and love. Like, so it's
thank you
really,
so
it is
much.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And yes, again, if you want to book a consultation, the number is given below. Have a lovely weekend. Take a lot of rest and enjoy.
Happy weekend to everybody. Goodbye.
Happy
Thank you,
weekend. Bye
Fatima.
bye.
It's lovely talking
Thank
to
you
you.
so much.
Bye.